I've wanted to get a damper installed on the wood stove chimney for a while now and just see if that helps me retain the heat and warm the house up any better than the stove does by itself. I ran down to the local Tractor Supply store, picked up a $7 6-inch damper, and it took me all of about 10 minutes to get it installed. The stove puts off a tremendous amount of heat at different times. I'm still trying to figure this out, and naturally once the house is insulated, that will change things. The other thing I did is I got some fiberglass tape to just seal up the chimney and make sure the stove is as close to airtight as possible. I like the stove. I should clean it up and oil it at some point. I bought some oil, but it's not high on the priority list of things to do. The list of things to do at times seemed monumental. I wondered if I would ever get the things done necessary for us to live up here. Looking back on what we've been able to accomplish in the last couple of years, it's almost mind-boggling. From the septic system to the well, to the solar system, to the water tank, to the water lines, to just clearing the land. I think if somebody had outright told me what would be required to live on this piece of land, I maybe would have reconsidered. The one last thing that I really want to get done on the outside before we get too deep into winter is the siding. It's not the best time of year to do this, but I learned last year that the temperature with oil-based stain is not quite as critical as it would be with a water-based stain. I almost finished the siding a couple of different times over the summer, but it's a miracle that I didn't, because had I done that, I would have had to remove the entire side against the house where we've now done the addition. Initially, we were going to do a cedar siding, but the cost difference between the Doug fir and the cedar was about 2 to 3 times. Now, naturally, if we got more rain than we do, Doug fir may not have been the best choice. Routinely, people comment about the batten strips that are normally put down underneath the siding to allow the wood to breathe, but in our climate, it's just not necessary. If it rained 200 days a year, and we had the kind of moisture in the air that other places in the Northwest do, this would be wise to do. But the bottom line is I sealed both the front and the back side of the wood using a Messmers stain, which is a somewhat local company that I really have learned to like. I also learned the hard way when I built the kids' playhouse how important it is to mix the stain properly. If you want to know why one side of the playhouse is gray and the rest of it isn't, that's why. I overmixed 1 can of stain, and at some point in the near future I'll have to sand that one side off and try and match it. But I've learned not to mix it too much. If I mix it too much, the grays come out more than I initially wanted them to. So after playing around with the stain and getting the color right, I stained the boards necessary for the upstairs. I then let them sit for the weekend and dry. It was between about 30 and 40 degrees most of the weekend. I considered going inside the house and putting plastic down to do this, but talked myself out of it. Now again, this is 1x12 Doug fir siding. The one thing I didn't like about the cedar siding versus the Doug fir siding is it had more of a red color to it. Interestingly enough, all of the beams that I'm using on the front porch and all of these exposed 2x12s are also Doug fir. So I think the end result will be better that we used Doug fir as far as looks are concerned. Now the stain that I'm using is what's called Messmers UV+. And on this side of the house, it will get more direct sunlight than any other side of the house for obvious reasons. I will likely come back in the summertime and put a second, maybe even a third coat of stain on this. Then I should be good for a few years. I still need to do the underside of the eaves and the end of the house, but I'm going to wait until I can set up scaffolding and sand the 2x12s that are exposed before I put the stain on. That may not happen until summertime. When I bought the 2 bunks of siding, the guy told me that I would have about a 30% loss with the wood. Because I'm worried that I'm going to be short, I'm putting pieces of siding up that I probably otherwise wouldn't, that have cracks in it or have a little bit more character than normal. But the truth is it's nailed up well enough where it won't be an issue. As much as I appreciate what the Tyvek does, I can't wait for it to go away and not be seen. I can't wait for the house to look like a finished house as much as it can. Getting the siding up is something that I can't wait to check off the list. You know, the irony is with the list that at some point the big things become small things. Most of the things that are on the list are not monumental things at this point. Most of the things come down to getting ready to live in the house. This is exciting to me. In my mind, I can take less than a week and finish the electrical. I can take less than a week and finish the plumbing. Then it's just a matter of getting things inspected at that point. So again, in my mind, if all goes well, within a couple of weeks, I could be ready to do drywall. The front of the siding is rough sawn. The other 3 sides have been planed. The front really soaks the stain up, and I put it on pretty heavy. The other 3 sides do not soak it up as well, but still, letting it sit for long enough, it soaks up the stain. putting stain on the back of the wood is probably overkill. But in my mind, because this is not a rot resistant or an insect resistant wood, I need to put that stain everywhere I can. The board in Batten look is my favorite. Doing the downstairs in a horizontal fashion just breaks things up a little bit for my eyes, and I love the way it turned out. It's rustic, but it's perfect. Okay, I'm basically finished with the siding on the back of the house. I need to run down into town and get about 22 by 4s that I can use for backing. I'm getting low enough with the siding now where I'm getting a little bit nervous. I'm not sure if the guy that I bought it from has more. I know I can get more, but the difference is going to be the cost of what I paid for it last year versus this year. I've heard the prices have gone up quite a bit. I think I got enough to get it done, and I'm going to do my best. So I'm not going to put any of the batten strips on until I know what's left. Because really I can go down and get 1x4s or 1x6s if I have to do the batten strips versus this 1x12 stuff. So anyway, I love the way it turned out. I love the stain, the look, everything. I will end up doing a second coat on the back side, probably the entire house, although most of the house have already done a second coat. But I'm not going to do it till summertime. Once the siding is completely done, I can get focused on the inside stuff. Part of the reason that I'm trying to get the siding done is because I want to get this pile of wood in front of the house there. I want to get it up on the house and get it off the ground. It sat all summer and got really dry. It wasn't quite dry when I installed it last year, and there's been some shrinkage in a couple of spots. Before we get too deep into winter, before it gets covered with snow, I want to just get it off the ground and get it done. Plus, I want to get the house looking the way that I want it to look. So anyway, the next step is just to get the backing in place, get around to the other side of the house, get the stuff finished there, and then get moved on to electrical and plumbing. So anyway, it's been a good week. Weather's been pretty good. It keeps acting like it's going to snow, but it's not snowing. The water tank is full. Has not froze. So far we've been doing fine, and it's been down close to 0 at night, so I think we're good there. But I'm just going to keep moving forward.